Season 2 kicks off a year and a half after the events of Season 1. Episode 1 is entitled The Stargazer, and retired Admiral Jean-Luc Picard rejects the romantic advances of his housekeeper Laris after the death of her partner Zhaban. After giving a speech to a new class of cadets, including his former ward Elnor, in his role as Chancellor of Starfleet Academy, Picard visits his old friend and bartender Guinan to talk about his lifelong avoidance of romantic relationships. In deep space, Captain Chris Rios and Dr. Agnes Girardi of the USS Stargazer investigate an anomaly that broadcasts a request to negotiate entry into the Federation with Picard. They are joined by Seven of Nine, a vigilante flying Rios' old ship La Serena, and a fleet of starships including the USS Excelsior, which has Elnor and Picard's old First Officer Raffi Musaka on board. When Picard arrives, a Borg ship emerges from the anomaly and transports their queen onto the Stargazer. The queen begins assimilating the entire fleet, prompting Picard to initiate the Stargazer's self-destruct. After the explosion, Picard wakes up in a version of his home and is greeted by the extra-dimensional being Q, who has returned to test Picard again. In Episode 2, Penance, Picard learns from Q that he and his companions are in an alternate timeline where humanity has formed the xenophobic Confederation of Earth, systematically eradicating or enslaving alien races. Picard, the Confederation's greatest military commander, has been granted the honour of executing the last Borg Queen by Seven of Nine, who is the president of the Confederation and is married to the Magistrate. The group reunite and learn from the Borg Queen that they can prevent the Confederation's formation by travelling to Los Angeles in 2024, which they can only do with the Queen's help. Agnes, Raffi and Elnor take control of communication and transporter systems in the Confederation headquarters, while Seven and Picard buy time at the public execution. As the crowd and the Magistrate grow concerned with their stalling, the others complete their objectives, and Picard, Raffi, Seven, Agnes, Elnor and the Queen are beamed onto Rios' ship. They are preparing to initiate time travel, where the Magistrate and security officers beam aboard, shoot and wound Elnor, and prepare to execute them all for treason. In Episode 3, Assimilation, Seven distracts the Magistrate long enough for the group to overpower and kill him and his officers. The ship comes under attack, and the Queen takes advantage of the situation to directly connect herself to the ship's computers. She destroys their pursuers and slingshots the ship around the sun, creating a wormhole to 2024. She tells Picard that they must find the Watcher in Los Angeles, who knows what Q changed to cause the new timeline. The ship crashes near Chateau Picard in France, and the Queen diverts all power to sustain herself. Elnor dies of his wounds, and Raffi angrily blames Picard before departing with Seven and Rios to start searching for the Watcher. Rios' transporter malfunctions, and he is knocked out, waking up in a clinic that secretly treats undocumented immigrants. Before he can leave, immigration officers raid the clinic and arrest both Rios and his physician, Teresa. Rios' communicator is left behind. Despite Picard's warnings, Agnes connects her mind to the Queen and learns the exact location of the Watcher before she can be assimilated, impressing the Queen. In Episode 4, Watcher, Picard and Agnes learn from Agnes's connection to the Queen that the change to the timeline they must prevent to avoid the dark future of the Confederation will happen in 3 days' time, on April 15, 2024. Picard transports to the location Agnes learned from the Queen and finds a younger version of Guinan who does not know him and is planning to leave Earth after growing disillusioned with humanity. Seven and Raffi search for Rios, who is processed by ICE and sent to a sanctuary district on the US border. They are able to track the bus that Rios is on with the help of Agnes, who tricks the Queen into improving La Serena's transporter systems. After Picard reveals his name and explains that he is looking for a Watcher, Guinan leads him to someone who is also known as a supervisor, that is acting as a guardian angel for someone on Earth. The supervisor, who resembles Laris but appears to be human, teleports away with Picard. Meanwhile, Q approaches a woman who is working on the planned Europa spaceflight mission. He is surprised to discover that he is unable to change her destiny. In Episode 5, Fly Me to the Moon, the supervisor introduces herself as Talon and explains to Picard that she is tasked with protecting his ancestor, Renee Picard, the woman who Q had targeted earlier, because Renee plays an important role in the future. Q approaches Dr. Adam Sung, a disgraced geneticist who is desperate to find a cure for his daughter Corey's terminal genetic illness. In exchange for a vial of medicine that can save Corey's life, Q requests Sung's help dealing with Renee. Seven and Raffi break Rios out of ICE custody. Back on La Serena, the Queen taps into the ship's communications to broadcast an emergency call and lure a policeman onto the ship. Agnes shoots the Queen to prevent her from assimilating the policeman, but the dying Queen injects Agnes with Borg nanoprobes. Picard knows that Renee is destined to find a sentient organism on Jupiter's moon, Io, and it is essential that she does not back out of the Europa mission. To monitor her at a pre-flight gala, Agnes infiltrates the event to hack the system so they can all attend, but the Borg Queen's consciousness is lurking within her mind. In Episode 6, 2 of 1, with the Queen's help, Agnes gives Picard, Talon and Rios Rios access to the gala. There, Picard is confronted by Sung, who alerts security that Picard is dangerous. Agnes and the Queen cut the lights to create a distraction by singing a jazz cover of Shadows of the Night. The resulting rush of endorphins allows the Queen to take full control of Agnes's body. Q, having taken the role of Renee's therapist, stokes her insecurity with text messages, and she begins to flee the party. Picard finds her and persuades her to go through with the mission by talking about his mother, who also loved the stars and also had mental health struggles. Sung sees Renee and Picard walking together outside and attempts to run over Renee with his car. Picard pushes her out of the way but is hit by the car and knocked unconscious. After returning home, Sung deliriously rants at Corey. She investigates his research and learns that she is the only one to have survived the many apparent clones he created. At Teresa's clinic, Talon decides to enter Picard's mind to help him wake up from a memory that his mind is fixated on. In episode 7, Monsters, inside his mind, Picard relives a part of a memory from his childhood where his apparently abusive father Maurice chased Picard's younger self and his mother Yvette through the house. Talon helps Picard realise that his mother was actually struggling with mental illness and Maurice was just trying to protect her and Jean-Luc. Picard wakes up from his coma and Talon reveals that she is actually a Romulan and possibly Laris's ancestor. Picard theorises that Q may have a personal stake in his trial and asks Guinan to summon Q using an Elorian ritual. The ritual fails just as an FBI agent Martin Wells enters the bar and arrests them based on surveillance footage of Picard using his transporter. Rios secretly brings Teresa and her son onto La Sirena, confessing that he is a time traveller. Raffi and Seven discover that the ship's computers have been sabotaged with Borg encryption codes and begin tracking Agnes. They find a bar where she smashed a window and realise that the Queen is trying to create more endorphins in Agnes until she has enough power to assimilate more people and become a new Borg Queen. In episode 8, Mercy, Wells tries to make Picard and Guinan confess to being aliens. He separates them and Guinan is visited by Q, who explains that he is dying and that the trial is a final attempt to give his own life meaning. He notes that all humans are stuck in the past and Guinan uses astral projection to share this message with Picard. Wells reveals that he encountered aliens when he was a child and he thought they wanted to kill him, but Picard explains that these were Vulcans who were only trying to erase his memories. Wells is forced to release Picard and Guinan after the FBI dismisses him for conducting an illegal investigation. Meanwhile, Raffi and Seven find the Queen collecting car and phone batteries to modify Girardi's body and make it capable of assimilation. She attacks them, but Agnes is able to force her to stop and leave. After learning about her true nature, Corey leaves her father with the help from Q. The Queen persuades Sung that he can save his legacy by helping her steal La Sirena, thereby enabling her to conquer the galaxy. Sung provides her with a squad of mercenaries to convert into Borg drones. In episode 9, Hide and Seek, the Queen, Sung, and the drones beam onto La Sirena while Picard, Talon, Raffi, and Seven beam to Chateau Picard. Agnes's consciousness blocks the Queen from the ship's systems until Raffi and Seven arrive. They try to use the ship against the Queen, but she mortally wounds Seven, and they send Rios, Teresa, and her son to safety. Picard and Talon escape from Sung and the drones in the tunnels beneath the chateau. Picard recalls his mother having a mental break while they were playing hide and seek in the tunnels when he was a boy, after which she ended her own life. Discussing this with Talon helps Picard come to terms with it. Sung corners them, but Rios beams back and forces him to flee. Agnes persuades the Queen to change her ways and build a new Borg collective through cooperation rather than assimilation, truly becoming a new Borg Queen. The new Queen heals Seven by adding her to the collective and then departs in La Sirena for the Delta Quadrant, leaving a message for Picard that there must be two versions of Renee, one who will fly the Europa mission and one who will die. In episode 10, Farewell, despite Picard's protests, Talon interprets the Queen's message as her needing to sacrifice herself to save Renee. She uses a holographic disguise to thwart Sung's attempted murder of Renee and dies in Picard's arms while Renee departs on the Europa mission. After his failure, Sung returns home to find that Corey has deleted his digital files, though he still has a physical file labelled Project Khan. Corey is recruited to join the Travelers by Wesley Crusher, and Rios decides to stay in the past with Teresa. Q and Picard discuss the purpose of the trial. Q hopes that Picard has learned to let go of the past and accept love. Q then uses the last of his power to send Picard, Seven, and Raffi back to the Stargazer in their own timeline, where Elnor is still alive. Picard recognises that this Borg Queen is Agnes, whose collective has detected a new transwarp conduit that they offer to monitor as provisional members of the Federation. After reuniting with the older Guinan and learning about Rios' life in the 21st century, Picard returns to his chateau and asks Laris for a second chance at being together. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed my recap video for Star Trek Picard Season 2. Don't forget to subscribe to Sci-Finatics if you haven't already done so. Be sure to like and comment on this video, and check out my merch in the merch store where you can pick up all range of Star Trek merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps, you name it. I'll be back soon with my next video. I'll see you soon.